y'all, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. It is that time of the month again where I answer your body mod questions. If you are new here, this is something that I do every single month on my channel. I answer any body mod questions you may have, whether they're specifically about me, my body mods, my thoughts on things, and things of that nature, or just general body mod questions. If you would like to have a question answered in the next one, which will be in December, you can leave them on this video. You can leave them in the comments below, or you can follow me over on Instagram and wait for me to pop up the little question box that says, hey, do you have a question? All right, let's just go ahead and get started because sometimes these can take a while to do. Linda asks, I've seen these getting a little more popular in my area lately. What do you think about coin slot piercings? Would you ever get one if you had space for it? So for anyone that doesn't know what a coin slot piercing is, I will insert a picture over here of what one looks like. I think they're pretty cool. I don't think I'd personally get one. However, I do think the idea behind them, as well as how some people design them, looks pretty cool. I like the concept of having multiple stacked rings in one piercing. However, I'd much rather do that like in a stretched lobe piercing. So like the ones that I have, I'd rather put stacked rings in this as opposed to having this like coin slot looking one cut out in my ear. I don't know too much about them. I just have seen them before. I think they look pretty cool, but I personally wouldn't get one. Renee asks, do you have any pointers towards taking care of scarring or helping it go down? So there was a whole lot more to the question. If you ask a really long question, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm just gonna read like the basic question that you pose. But basically a little bit of backstory. It seems like their industrial has started developing some hypertrophic scarring. Piercer recommended using hydrogen peroxide and then rinsing everything out with a saline solution. It concerns me that your piercer recommended hydrogen peroxide because that is definitely a no-no. That's something you should never put on a piercing. So it's a little concerning that your piercer would recommend it. However, if they're truly professional and they know what they're doing and they've gone through training to get to this point, then I would also suggest listening to them because I am an enthusiast. I am not a professional. I just like body mods. Most piercers will not recommend hydrogen peroxide, so take that for what it's worth. As for dealing with any kind of scarring, sometimes scars just have to run their course. There are some things that you can put on scars so that it's not as noticeable. However, while it's currently healing, I would not put anything harsh on it. I would just continue with a saline soak as opposed to doing anything completely drastic. Again, you mentioned how you got this done 2 months ago, so it is very fresh still, especially in industrial. Industrials take a very long time to heal. Cartilage piercings in general take a very long time to heal. An industrial is very temperamental. So 2 months is still very new. I would just continue with your saline solution. Unless you're noticing some infections, then you may need to do something else. But if you're just noticing slight scarring, continue with your soaks and don't put anything harsh on it. Lisa asks, how long should you wait after a surgery to get pierced? So the thing you should keep in mind here is that when you get a piercing, your body focuses all of its attention on making sure that heals properly. So if you have just had surgery and then you're immediately gonna turn around and get a piercing, your body doesn't know where to focus its energy. It should be focusing its energy on your entire body. You just had surgery. It needs to focus on making sure that heals correctly. So then when you go and get a piercing, on top of that, your body's sitting there going like, oh no, I don't know where to put my attention towards. Do I put it towards the surgery that just happened, or do I put it toward the piercing, or do I divide my attention? And it's gonna slow down the healing process for both. Really? I personally would not get a brand new piercing after surgery until your doctor says it's okay. A good rule of thumb that I've heard from a lot of people is to wait until you no longer need follow-up appointments with a doctor. So if you've gotten a surgery and you know that there are gonna be some follow-up appointments for the doctor to make sure that everything is healing correctly, once you no longer need those appointments, that's when you can probably get a new piercing. Because I see in your comment that you had your gallbladder removed and then you're gonna get your rook pierced the week after. If you know your body, then maybe your body can handle healing a surgery as well as a new piercing. Hopefully, because you asked this 3 weeks ago and probably had both done by now. So just moving forward, it's probably best practice to wait until you're completely healed from a surgery before you go get something else done. Crash and Wheelers asks, I have this weird bump at the back of my ear piercing, but it doesn't look like a piercing bump. Could I change my earrings even if my ear is irritated now, or should I wait wait it out. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know my disdain for hoops, generally. What I don't get from this question is whether or not this piercing is new. Is this a brand new piercing? Is this a piercing that's still in the process of healing? Or is this a piercing that you've had for a while? That's really gonna determine your next course of action, as well as what kind of bump this may be. Again, I personally am not a huge hoop fan. However, it does sound like this is a lobe piercing, which I have less of an issue with hoops in lobe piercings as opposed to cartilage ones. Don't even look at the fact that I have a hoop in my rook right now. So if it's a lobe one, I have less of an issue with that, but hoops still can cause problems because they've got that curvature to them. If this is a brand new piercing, you should have a post in there because it's got a lot of movement going on with a hoop, and it's going to cause friction, and it's going to make it very difficult for your piercing to heal in a timely manner. Now, whether or not you can change it, if it's an irritation bump, it's probably best to leave it alone, continue to clean it. If it doesn't go down after a while, you may want to change it out to a post, but the less you do with it, the better. Rabbit Hearted asks, what do you think about tea tree oil on a piercing? I have discussed tea tree oil on piercings multiple times. I have several videos covering it. I do have a lot of thoughts on tea tree oil. Yes, it has a lot of really good properties that do aid in healing. However, tea tree oil is incredibly harsh and can actually cause more damage and more harm to a piercing than it can do good for it. So I always say, don't use tea tree oil right away. Don't use it as first line of defense. Tea tree oil should never be used on a brand new piercing. This is only something that should be used when you've had the piercing for a while and you just notice that it gets a slight bump to it. And even then, if you use tea tree oil, you need to dilute the heck out of it, because just taking tea tree oil and putting it right onto the bump is awful. It doesn't matter if the piercing is brand new or old, it's not good for it. I personally have had good luck with tea tree oil. However, I also am aware that it is not the best thing to use on a piercing. That being said, if it is a brand new piercing, don't let it come near it. If it is an older piercing and you've tried everything else, only then would I say it's okay to try it, but you have to dilute it. Do not put just out of the bottle tea tree oil on a piercing because so much damage can be done. Lillian asks, I have a normal helix piercing and I want to make it a double helix, getting it slightly lower than the first. However, I have a mole freckle on the back of my ear very close to where I think it would be pierced. Is that an issue? This is another thing I've discussed before. It is best to not get a piercing through a mole or a freckle. It's best to avoid it if possible. There are a variety of reasons why you should do so. However, this is something you should also discuss with your piercer. They're going to be able to provide way more information as to whether or not they think it's doable, whether they should maybe maneuver things around, maybe go up higher as opposed to lower. From the research that I have done, it is best to avoid piercing a mole. Adrian asks, can you put wound wash on a belly ring to clean it? You should only be putting things on a piercing that are marketed for piercings, unless it's coming from Claire's, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in their solutions that should never go on anything. So NeilMed, H2 Ocean, both have great products that are specifically marketed, formulated for piercings. You also need to read the ingredients. The more chemicals that you put on a piercing, the worse off it's gonna be, the more irritated it gets. It could potentially get infected. It is best to look for products that are geared specifically for piercings because those are going to have the best ingredients to put on something. You can also make your own. I've gone over multiple times what the appropriate measurements are to making your own. The best thing you can do is read the ingredients on something. If it's got way more to it and there are a lot of ingredients in there that you can't read, it's probably best not to put it on there. That being said, there are some wound wash products that you can use. But let me take this time to say, please don't put products on a piercing like contact solution, like eye contact solution. I've gotten that question before. Don't do that. No, that's not meant for your piercing. That's meant for your contacts. Like there are chemicals in there that are not meant for a piercing, but they're fine for your contacts. Long story short, try and find things that are specifically formulated for piercings and then also read the ingredients. Hello Girl 101 asks, how do you know when a cartilage piercing is healed enough to switch to a hoop? I've had my tragus for almost a year and tried a hoop a few weeks ago, but it hurt too much to keep it in, so I switched it back to a labre. It's going to hurt. Even if your piercing is completely healed, it's gonna hurt as it gets used to the new jewelry. As I've discussed before, labre is straight. It's like this. There's no curvature to it. A hoop is curved. Your piercing healed straight. So when you put something that's curved into a space that has healed straight, it's gonna hurt and it's gonna be sore and it's gonna be irritated. I would say it's safe to assume that your piercing is healed and that you can switch it to a hoop. But don't be surprised if it gets irritated because it's been used to jewelry in there that is perfectly straight, and all of a sudden you're putting something that's curved in there. It's gonna get irritated because it didn't heal to have a curve to it. So it's probably just mad because that's not how it healed. Now this new jewelry's going in and messing things up. It's probably safe to assume it's healed, but just be aware that it can cause irritation. Rebecca asks, I'm thinking of getting a nostril piercing in a few months. How are yours to get pain healing? I have an entire video all about nostril piercings. Go check it out. Nick J asks, what is your newest and oldest visible tattoo? So my oldest is the book right here on my wrist. And my newest is my rabbit on my inner right bicep. Come a long way from the book. Emily asks, are you able to sleep on both your pierced ears, or is there one side that is more comfortable to sleep on? So I can sleep on both sides pretty comfortably. However, I do favor my right side, and I honestly think it's because of the forward helix piercings over here. They're so outward compared to other things that when I sleep on this side, they do press, but over here I don't have it, so I think that's why this one is slightly more comfortable and why I favor this side. However, I can sleep on this side just fine. But sometimes I have to like press the pillow down so that it fits well, but I can still sleep fine. JH Dez asks, aside from your VSG, is there any cosmetic surgery you plan or would like to get done? So I have toyed in the back of my mind with a tummy tuck because I have a lot of loose skin on my stomach. I would like for it to be flat, so maybe I could potentially get a navel piercing eventually, because as of right now, I definitely wouldn't be able to just because of the loose skin kind of folding over. It would make it very difficult for it to heal. That is pretty much the only cosmetic surgery that I am playing around with, I'm thinking about. I don't know when I'd get it done. You know, I'm content how things are now, but the idea of having a perfectly flat without my belly button like having a little bit of loose skin hanging over it, that's the main reason why I'm considering that, but that's the only thing I'm thinking about right now. Chandon asks, what do you think about UV ink tattoos? I don't know too much about UV ink tattoos. However, in the brief research that I've done on them, I would be skeptical of them because there are risks to getting them done, such as the ink used in order to get that glow effect or that glow in the dark effect is not regulated by the FDA, and there are some questionable chemicals in the ink, so I wouldn't necessarily want that, like, you know, in my skin. They're nifty looking. I personally would not get one myself just because of the risks that come along with it, but they're kind of cool looking. Maddie asks, what are your thoughts on bridge piercings? I'm thinking of getting mine done. My only other facial piercing are my septum and nostril piercing. I think bridge piercings are super cool. I personally would really like to get one, but because I wear glasses, and I know I've heard people before say that they wear glasses and they have a bridge piercing and it's perfectly fine, I just feel like my dumb butt would somehow, my glasses would get caught on it and it would get infected and would get caught. It would be a mess. I think bridge piercings are super cool. I would love to get one, but because I do wear glasses when I'm not filming or streaming on Twitch, I don't know. I feel like I'd mess that up somehow, but they're really cool looking. Closed Tinted Girl asks, how is your labret doing? Are there any other piercings you're thinking of getting soon? I'm hoping to get my third forward helix done before the end of the year. Don't know if it'll actually happen, but that's what I'm hoping for. As for my labret, I'm assuming you mean this one specifically. It's doing fine. Not a problem at all. I might actually downsize the post because it is still a little bit long, but other than that, it's great. Mariska asks, is there anything to do against a red and very warm ear? It mostly happens in the evening. Can you figure out what's causing it to be red and warm, especially since you're connecting it with a specific time of day? Is there something that's happening that time of day that could potentially be causing that? That sounds like there's some kind of irritation happening that's causing it to be red and warm. Warm is a little concerning. Warm can potentially mean infection, which obviously we don't want. So I would look a little bit closer into that as to why it's doing that. See if there's any crusties or any gunk around the piercing. But red and warm is slightly concerning just because it could mean an infection. As for your question, what can you do for it? Continue with a salt soak solution. And if you find something is potentially swelling along with the redness and the warmth, you can put ice on it. However, don't put the ice directly on it, like wrap it up in a paper towel or just in a regular old towel and just hold it there. Old Man Jenkins Chickens asks, I really want to gauge my ears, but I also want them to be able to close if needed. Size? So I'm going to assume you mean stretching your ears. Gauge refers to the size. Stretching is the process to get it to that size. Everyone always talks about the point of no return, that there's a magical number that you can go to that one, and if you take out the plugs or the tunnels, it'll go back to its normal size. Believe me, I used to adhere to that rule. It varies person to person. You could find yourself at a 00 gauge. You could take your tunnels and plugs out and then find that it never downsizes. Or you may find that your magical number is a 4 gauge. You know, if you go past that, it won't go back down. So there's really no true point of no return. It's just kind of a wait and see type thing. It may go back down and it may not. Ellie asks, have you gotten a tattoo piercing in a foreign country? I have not, but I'm not opposed to it. Kind of a good little souvenir. Vicky Griggs asks, do you think you'll have your high nostril by the wedding? Also, congratulations. Thank you, I appreciate that. For anyone that didn't know, I am engaged. As for if I'll have it by the wedding, I don't know. That's actually not something I've thought about yet. Going through the whole wedding planning process, I really haven't thought about that. I do hope to get this out. I just have to do it, let it heal, and then get it re-pierced before the wedding. But as for the high nostril, just with how things are playing out, I might wait until after. So it would be kind of cool to have it done and then like have really cute tiny like diamonds in there. I don't know. I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't thought about that. I don't know. I'll let y'all know what I decide. Meg asks, if you had to get rid of all of your tattoos but one, which would you keep? That's a good question. I hate that. I would probably keep my fruit bat. I love my fruit bat so freaking much. God, it's just so pretty with all its little fruits. It's just so cute. That would probably be the one that I would for sure keep. But I don't want to think about that because I love all of them. CK is a trash polka, yay or nay? So for anyone that doesn't know what this is a specific style of tattoo. I think they look really cool. Not my thing. I personally would not get something like that done, but I think they're pretty nifty looking. Natalie Rose asks, thoughts on Helix fold piercings? I'd love to get one, but I don't know about healing it. So I didn't realize this was truly a thing, but it's very similar to what a forward helix is. So you've got the forward helix right here, which is on the outer fold of your ear. So then what just a regular old helix fold piercing is when you have your ear, it's like along the fold right here. The little curvature right there. I completely forgot that that's an option. I don't know how the healing would be. I feel like you have to have a pretty significant fold for it to work. I think they look really cool, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know how healing it would be. I feel like that's one that's anatomy based. Like if you don't have that fold, it's not gonna work. Demka asks, my most recent tattoo had a random zit appear in it, pop naturally, and now there's a blank space where it was. Do I go back to get it fixed or ignore it and hope no one else notices? So I actually had something very similar to this happen with one of my, I have yet to get it touched up. I do hope one day to just make an appointment where it's called my touch-up day, and any of my tattoos that need touched up by my tattoo artist, she'll do. But I had the same situation happen. There was a pimple that popped up. It doesn't matter the placement of it. It just randomly will show up. That's entirely up to you. If you want to go get it touched up, go get it touched up. If you are perfectly fine with there just being like this little blank space, then I say just let it go. But I totally get where you're coming from. Elizabeth asks, I got a finger tattoo and it healed, faded. Is this normal? Should I go to a different shop? Elizabeth, this is perfectly normal. First of all, your hands get a lot of action throughout the day, so hand tattoos are gonna fade way faster than other tattoos. I'm also with you on that one, so I have 2 finger tattoos. I have this one on my pointer finger and it's perfectly fine, mostly because I wear a ring on it all the time. Then I have a crescent moon on this ring finger. It healed, faded AF. So I feel you. That's just part of having any kind of hand tattoos. They're gonna fade faster than any other kind of tattoo because you're constantly doing things, washing your hands, just touching everything, being exposed to the elements. They're gonna fade faster. So it's perfectly normal. You can go get it touched up. It's fine. Erica says, I only have my lobes pierced. How do I decide what ear piercing to get? What do you like? When you look at an ear, like just like a diagram, a drawing, or even pictures on Instagram or just online in general, when you look at an ear, what piercings do you like? Go with what you like. If you don't like something, don't get it. But if you like something, go talk to a piercer and see if you can get it. That's how you decide. You look at it and you're like, I like that. You go get it. I mean, that's what I did for all of mine. Haterella asks, how many long are your labret bars? My tragus labret is 6 millimeters, but I might try 4 millimeters. So mine in length, pretty much everything is 5/6. 1/16 of an inch. However, my tragus is 1/4 of an inch. Andrea asks, I wear open hoops in my nose. They keep getting caught on my clothes. How do I prevent that? Just being more aware. Unfortunately, that's kind of a risk that you take with that type of jewelry when it's the open hoop kind. It's just a matter of remaining conscious of that's the type of jewelry you have in there. You just gotta be careful. And the last question is from Lauren, who asks, will you ever be getting any dermals? And as much as I like dermals, the answer is no, because my dumb butt would rip them out somehow. Thank you to everyone who asked a question for this month's Body Mod Q&A. If I did not get to your question, I'm very sorry. But again, if you would like a question answered in December's Q&A, which holy moly, we're at the end of the year, be sure to drop them in the comments below or follow me on Instagram and keep a watch of my stories to see when you can ask over there. Special thank you to my patrons. You can help support the channel on Patreon while having access to videos early, viewing patron-only content, and more. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Go down there and hit that subscribe button, wherever it may be, because I don't know. Even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit that notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye all!